recording. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Pod De Deux Podcast. I am Michael Mahany.
I'm Kevin Michael Raponey.
And I am Ellyn Marie Marsh. We are back together again with another show in our summer series, The Women of Broadway. And this week we've got another badass female choreographer to hear from and celebrate.
That's right. This week we're actually chatting with someone Mikey and I know pretty well. Not only is our guest this week the choreographer of Diana, A True Musical Story, a musical that was in previews on Broadway when the pandemic shutdown went into effect, but she's also the choreographer of our show, the 10th anniversary production of Rock of Ages at New World Stages.
Yes, she is. She is awesome, and I cannot wait for all of you out there to hear from her. So before we bring Kelly in, though, I want to remind everybody why we're here, why we're doing this series. In case you missed it, this year was a huge year on Broadway in terms of dance. There was 14 new musicals that either came in or were supposed to come to Broadway this year, but were halted because of the pandemic. And of those 14, 10 of them were slated to be choreographed by women.
And since there isn't a Tony Awards show this summer, we want to celebrate their work and celebrate the huge crack in the glass ceiling of Broadway choreography by bringing you a chance to hear from all of them, or as many as we could book.
That's right. Selfish plug here. But a few weeks ago, I published a piece over on my blog, New York City Dance News and Culture, with some pretty crazy statistics about those female choreographers.
And what were some of those statistics again?
Yeah. So if you think that this year would have been the 74th annual Tony Awards, one year there wasn't a Tony given out for best choreography because there wasn't an eligible candidate. There's been 72 chances to win the Tony Award for best choreography. Of those 72 times, only 12 times in history has it gone to a woman. And of those 12 times, only 7 different women have won. That's Susan Stroman, who's won 4, Kathleen Marshall, who's won 3, and then 1 each for Twyla Tharp, Anne Reinking, Jillian Gregory, Helen Tamiris, and Agnes DeMille. And all of that is just absolutely bonkers, right? I mean, it's just unbelievable, those crazy statistics. Yeah. So that's why we are here.
Did not know that.
No, I mean, what? And it would be ridiculous to think that, but I guess, as you said last week, it tracks, which is why we are here to celebrate this unprecedented year. So with all of that, let's bring in our divine guest of the day, Miss Kelly Devine, joining.
Where is she?
There she is. Ladies and gentlemen,
Hey,
Kelly Devine. Hi, Kelly.
What's up?
Oh, beautiful,
How are you?
wonderful, so awesome. Thank you for being here today, Kelly.
Are you kidding? I'm so lonely. I'll talk to anybody. I'm just kidding.
Well, glad to know we're
that's
like
why
on the
she's so
bottom.
good.
No, I love you guys. You know I do.
Yes,
No.
we know you do,
No
and we
way.
love you too. Kelly, Kevin, why don't you give us a little bit of that bio we've got going on here? Give people
Let's
a little
do it.
intro
Let's
to
do
Kelly.
it. All right. Originally from the West Coast, Kelly Devine got her start dancing and choreographing on TV and in movies. Early in her career, at least according to IMDb, she played Maddie on Frogs, was a Demented Hills dancer in Keenan and Kel's Good Burger, and could be seen doing the bend and snap in the film version of Legally Blonde, all prior to make her way to the choreographic side of the table.
Kelly Devine is number one gorgeous and always has a smile on her face. She choreographed a number of shows and movies and music videos, including at least 3 with Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Can't wait to hear about that. Devine's move to the theater, though, took her to even greater heights. She worked as the associate choreographer on Jersey Boys and Memphis, but it was a little show called Rock of Ages that put her name on the map as a solo Broadway choreographer.
That's right. And with the success of Rock of Ages, Kelly Devine went on to choreograph so many different things, including the movie-turned-musical Rocky, which earned her her first Tony nomination, Dr. Zhivago, Come From Away, Escape to Margaritaville, and most recently, Diana, A True Musical Story on Broadway this year. She also choreographed Amazon's Mozart in the Jungle, and right now, she is the series choreographer on the CW series Katie Keene. She's an Astaire, Cheetah Rivera, Drama Desk, Outer Critics Circle, and a 2-time Tony nominee and Olivier winner for her work on Come From Away. Please welcome to the podcast, Kelly Devine. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God, Kelly.
Wow. Thank you so much for that walk down memory lane.
Right? All the
Did
things.
you really have to add all of them? Like,
Maddie, wait, so what? Shelley Duvall was in Maddie, or was in Frogs.
Yeah.
Who
yeah.
what was
Robin Toonin and Scott Grimes and Paul Williams played the frog.
so what is that? What was that show? Is it a movie? Is it a TV?
It was Frogs 2, so there was a 1.
Yeah, missed
Did you
that.
need to see the first one, or?
It was on a channel. I think it was like 11, and it was like Wonderworks. It was a Wonderworks show
On a channel.
and
Okay. Not a channel.
yeah, and I played sort of a snatchy teenager that was sort of mean to this kid that had a frog as a friend.
Why would you be mean to a kid who had a frog as a friend?
I mean,
you're not mean.
well, because he was a live person. It was like a talking frog, you know what I mean? I was like, you're crazy. What? You don't have a frog? And I was a Valley girl too. I literally grew up in the Valley, and I played a lot of Valley girls. So it was just
are you from Studio City? Is that right? Studio City?
Yeah, pretty much. More in North Hollywood, but I moved all over in that area. I mean, I lived in Studio City after North Hollywood for 7 years.
Because I am literally all over in Studio City right now. That's where I am. That's where we are. I know.
I'm so jealous. There's sunshine, and you have a pool, probably.
Yeah. It's not
There's
ours.
a pool, isn't there?
They have a lot of things.
It's Sarah's aunt's.
You have
It's
a
Sarah's
pool,
aunt's.
Mikey. You have not.
You're right. I do. I mean, I have access.
So I
it's
just
not
see
mine.
Sarah doing seems very, very spacious. I've seen some of Sarah's photo ops in a very large closet. I mean, it's like the size of my first Manhattan apartment. So
it's actually the bathroom. It's the bathroom. That's what that is.
Okay. I was like, she wouldn't dare do that to me. I'd be so upset. She'd know I'd cry.
She was very upset when you sent her those pictures of those Louboutin flats. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the show.
I felt really good about that one.
Yeah, well, she was literally like, that hurts my soul. But I was like, why? What are those shoes?
She said that's the meanest thing you've ever done to me. I was like, I am quite sure I've done meaner things, but okay.
Like the time you told her that you could not help her anymore. That's my favorite story that she said about you. Anyway, okay, so Diana, a true musical story. I love the title. That is the project that you have on Broadway this year. Now, since it's so new and you had to sort of stop while you were mid previews, which we'll get into in a second, but can you give everybody sort of just like a rundown of what the show is? What's the premise of it? Obviously it talks about Diana, but give us a little more of a synopsis.
Yeah, so Diana it takes place from when Diana and Charles meet to just, at the time before she dies. And we allude to her death, but it's not dramatized on stage. And what's interesting about this, it's sort of written more like a rock opera. So David Bryant, who's the keyboard player for Bon Jovi, wrote all the music, who I worked with before on Toxic Avenger and Memphis, and Joe DiPietro and David did the lyrics together. Joe did the book, and Chris Ashley's directing. So it's a wonderful group of people to be working with. We've all worked together before. There's a very easy conversation that always happens between us, where it's just like give and take, and you throw ideas out. But this is sort of humanizing the royals. It's like you see the real problems that you would have if you weren't a royal person that was in the news. What would your life be like? So like Diana and Charles dated, and he took her to see a cellist, and Camilla showed up because, he wanted her to check her out to see if she was a potential bride. So there's a lot of just sort of, I guess the best way is it's like humanizing a love triangle and watching them go through everything they did as human beings, trying to find themselves, Diana trying to find her purpose in life, having children, dealing with the responsibilities of being royal and being hounded by the press, and what's the queen's part in all of this, and how does she sort of help keep the family together, but then ultimately understands that they can't be together anymore. She sort of, they had to go to her and ask her for a divorce, which was unheard of. So it's just stuff that we all understand and, you know, as non-royal people go through all the time, but their thing was just heightened because it was just, the world knew about every move they made. So it's like, how do you deal with that? But it's also, you know, it's got moments, it's very funny, and it's, it goes other places that you would be surprised. It doesn't feel like just a biopic. It's definitely theatrical.
Right. I would imagine that it would it would have to be no, but I hadn't really thought about that. So it's taking this celebrity concept and bringing it back to the fact that that celebrities do have real life issues and problems and go
Totally.
through all that same stuff that everyday people do, but putting that into a sick musical written by Bon Jovi's keyboard player, which is and Joe DiPietro, and directed by a killer team with you and Chris Ashley, who've worked together a million times. But I mentioned in the beginning of that question, obviously, Broadway is in the midst of an unprecedented shutdown on top of an unprecedented year for female choreographers. But this is something that we've never sort of weathered before. So we want to talk about lots of awesome things and happy things, but we do sort of should cover this. So can you give us a little bit of how that day went down for you? What was it like having to halt in the middle of previews and what's going on in the meantime?
You know what's very interesting? I mean, I'm just going to be really candid about it because why not? But it was, you know, our producers were in contact with us, the creative team, and we had a tech rehearsal that day. We had changes that we wanted to put in. We had, you know, how you sort of plan out when you're in tech and you're in previews, you sort of block out like, okay, you know what, we'll put that new number in on Tuesday. On Wednesday, let's do all the line cuts. On Thursday, just so you don't overload the actors and shake things up too much. So we had a plan of things that we wanted to do. Because you want to get something new in every preview just so you can keep, you know, get all the time out of it. And it was, the producers were having these big meetings, and we sort of had a feeling that this was coming. And I mean, funny enough too, I knew that this was coming with Rock of Ages too, but I just wasn't in a place where I can say anything because we didn't know exactly what day it was going to be, when, how was it going to go down, how long, all the questions that people would have. So I'm sitting with Chris in rehearsal, and they're on stage. Ian's like, you know, sort of doing some music cleanups. We're going to try and restage a scene, and his phone is ringing, and Beth's like, we're in a big meeting right now. We should know in a little bit. We don't know what's going on. She was basically saying, don't say anything, don't say anything. So it was stressful. And so there was this air of like, the cast knew something was up, because I'm sure we were being a little weird and not like, you know, we were cracking the whip the way we normally do. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, okay, we're running out of time, we got to move on. There wasn't that. It was more like Chris would do something, I'd be looking at his phone to see if we got word. And then the word came through. She's like, we're on our way. We're going to close at 5 p.m. I was like, ugh. So it was hard.
Yeah.
So hard.
It's just like so much of this.
So emotional.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing for being in a show that's running, and we all found out, like, you know, when we all read the press release and saw the, kind of like everybody did it, just sort of finding it out as the news was breaking. But to be in the room mid rehearsal, you know, working on something and putting it up, it's got to be, you know, obviously crazy emotional experience. But you know, I try to consider myself a realist, but also an optimist. So we're looking forward to this being only intermission and Broadway's return. And when that might be, we don't know. And it will. It's just a matter of, you know, when it's safe and healthy. But yeah, I know.
Yes. No, absolutely. I don't have any doubt.
Yeah, I don't either. And it might take a minute, but it's all coming back. Anyway, we got the sad stuff out of the way. I know Kevin has a question for you about choreography, about dance.
Yeah, let's get out of this sad little cubby. Your style of choreography is so strong and smart. Your movement is so story-based. Even in Rock of Ages, we're telling the story through your movement. So how do you go about creating the movement for a show like Diana?
You know, I mean, honestly, with anything, my first sort of goal, or the first, you know, order I give myself is like, I never want to repeat steps. I try not to repeat myself. So I try to find with every project that I do, what is that specific voice to that show? it's not like, I just don't want to repeat myself, which can be really hard because I'll really stick myself and keep to it. And sometimes I get stuck and I'm like, well, if I can't do a Pod De Deux, I don't know how I'm supposed to get over there. It's a terrible example, but I really just like, I really try to keep that challenge up, right? So it's always fresh. And it's like, I want to do something I've never seen before. I want, that's what I love when I go see other people's work. You're like, whoa, that's amazing. That's what's exciting. So I try to do that for people as well. But I think the first thing, which Raponey, is like, I kind of, whatever the lyric is, whatever the emotional intent for that moment musically, I try to like transfer that into your body. And how do you convey that to an audience through physicality? That's like, so I try to just really keep that on point. So the story is always moving forward. And yeah, and I think I know that a lot of dancers have worked with me, like there's a list of things that I say, like, or how I describe a step, or I think I add a tagline, like, it's like this, like, sometimes they're probably horrible things to come out of my mouth. They're just terrible.
No way.
But other times,
tell us.
Oh my God, the hate mail that would come. No, I can't. It's wrong. It's wrong. Yeah, it's dark. But like, just the idea, this is like a simple one, but just like, with the Stacey Jacks moment, I was like, I want you to throw like an electrical fireball at her so you knock her out. Like, I try to put like a real physical visual or situation to the step, so it helps with the feeling. It helps with how you attack the step.
Totally.
That's awesome. I just sort of on that, and I mean, I don't know, maybe this is the magic of how choreographers' brains works, but how do you, when you go into the studio for the first day, you're working on Diana, you've got the script, you've read it, you've heard the music, you walk into the studio for the first time. How do you go like, okay, this is the step I'm going to do right now? I mean, how does that, I have no idea how that works. So can you explain that to me? or is it impossible to explain?
I'll be honest. I will be honest. Like I literally, when I finish a number, I'm like, something came to me. Like I feel relieved that something happened. You know what I mean? Something that I feel good about and sorry, I lost my word. Something that I feel good about and that I, can move forward with. But I go into a studio, I get, beautiful dancers that I trust, that I can feel, naked. Cause you just like, I mean, sometimes you just walk in the room and I'm like, I don't have a single step, nothing. And you've got like 10 dancers standing at you. And I'm just like, go. It's like, I don't like, you just gotta like start feeling it out. I don't know when that happens to when it gets created, but eventually, and that's the beauty of like getting to, work with people that and care about, and you guys have a really good relationship. So I can just be silly. I can say, this sucks. Sorry guys, it's not you, it's me. I'm being bad. Let's just do something new and like, start over.
Scrap it and start over.
But the other thing too that I scrap it totally. The other thing that I've gotten better about as the longer I do this is that I'm not precious about stuff. So I'll go down a dark road of like something that I think is going to be great. And I'll stand back and look at it. I'm like, that is not what this is supposed to be. That's wrong. And I'll just throw it out and start over. That, I think when I was younger, was really hard. You're like, oh, you're just scared. But it's amazing what happens when you do that, because you're freeing yourself up to have new stuff come in, So.
Yeah.
Do you
I feel like a lot of choreographers do pre-pro. Do you do any pre-pro?
That is my pre-pro. That's my pre-pro. That's me explaining sort of what my pre-pro is like. I mean, prior to that, before getting people, I've just played the music all the time. Yeah. And I do a lot of, I'm not the best sleeper. So a lot of times.
Great.
Hot takes.
There you go.
That's
There's a lot of time oh God. The time before I actually fall asleep and like in the morning when I wake up early, I mean, that could be hours, Yeah. So I find during those times that I just kind of daydream a little bit, and I can sort of, I'll like play the music in my head and I'll just sort of visualize what it could be. Or, sometimes I hear a piece of the music and I'm like, oh, that needs to be a lift. Like something spectacular has to happen there, or, just stay loose and open for ideas to flow, all you
That's
can do.
cool. That's
love that,
that's
Cal.
like what I was interested in hearing. Okay. That, I mean, I obviously was interested in hearing all you said, but that's cool. That idea of just like you hear the music and it just, you feel what it's supposed to be, and then you're able to go into the room and sort of apply it to people and make it into something. Okay. So we talked
I've actually had
please.
dreams. Wait, I gotta tell you this really quick. You'll love this, because I've actually had dreams where there was a number that I was supposed to do that in my dream, the number was totally choreographed and they were dancing it, and I wake up and I can't remember anything.
Oh God.
And you're just like, oh. Yeah,
Oh.
it's been cool. It's cool though, to say your brain can do that. It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also so mean that your brain can do that to you.
Sidebar.
It's
Yeah.
Okay.
kind of mean. It's kind of
Yeah.
mean.
So Diana, that's what's going on Broadway right now. Or well, in the meantime, we'll be coming back to Broadway. But the other, you were doing like 4 shows all at the same time. Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice.
That's it.
And then also Come From Away running, Rock of Ages running, and then you were also.
And then I was on Katie Keene.
Right. That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was getting to.
Diana. So those.
Yeah, but Katie Keene, that's awesome. I mean, how exciting in the sense that you can sort of go back to your television roots where you started choreographing music videos and films and television in LA before you sort of made the move to New York. But Katie Keene is a spin-off of Riverdale, which is based on the Archie comics, which I think is very cool. But choreographing for television versus choreographing for Broadway, is that a big difference? I know the schedule is different, but are you sort of forced to create quicker, or do you have more time? How does the difference work there?
It's extremely different. And the one thing I've learned about television is that you can plan all you want, but just know that on the day when you're shooting it, it's all going to change for the most part. The way we block things and the way things are lit on Broadway, lighting is everything on Broadway. You have to be on 6, if you want to show up on stage. That's not, it all changes when you're doing film or television. So, I mean, for example, like this isn't Katie Keene necessarily, but I did an episode of Modern Love, and I worked with the director. We planned out where we were dancing in this grocery store, and he's like, okay, so you guys will dance down here, and then you can go here. You can have a couple people come this way. Then you'll make a left, and you'll come down the aisle, and then you come down this way. And we're like, cool. We've got our marching orders, because we didn't know how they were going to shoot it in the grocery store. So I get everybody together. I'm like, boom, boom, boom. We're cooking. We're going down the aisle. The whole thing, great, cool. Guys, go to hair and makeup. We're all set. The director comes up to me. He's like, okay, so we totally changed that. So we're going to go this way and this way. And he changed the whole thing changed. It was amazing. I mean, up to one point, like every dancer in the store got an earwig, and I was calling out steps and directions on a microphone while they were dancing in real time. It was incredible.
Bada booray! Just bada booray across. Just
Towards the chips.
Yeah.
Towards the chips.
I'm not kidding. It was literally, and we had been there so long. It was like a full day. Everybody was up, 5 a.m. You're there, and we're getting at the end of the day. And now we're like, I'm literally in everybody's ear, this voice in your head, just hiding. And at one point I was like, okay, do something funny right there. Nope, not that. And everybody just started laughing. The whole cast just started laughing all over the grocery store. It was, yeah. And then I got a little slap happy, and I was like, okay, everyone just lie down on the floor. Nope, I'm kidding. And they were just like, oh. It was great. It was great. Yeah. But yeah, it's very different. You just have to be able to punt.
That's good. Just be ready to punt. I guess you can't really make a choice, because I know you love to work, but do you have a preference? Do you like working in the theater more than working on television, or vice versa?
I don't, they're just different enough that I really enjoy both aspects of them. The thing I love about theater is that it's such a challenge, because you're just responsible for every single second on stage. Like every step has to get you to the next place, and that is, you're just responsible for everybody looks the whole time, which is hard, and it's such a challenge. And I love that, because you can always, and you can't make mistakes in film and television, right? You got to stop, reshoot it. You always do it till you get the best shot of it, which is great, which means that you can actually go for like really hard things or things that you can't really do, on stage. So I enjoy that part of it too,
Right. That's cool. Okay. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do that, as promised, we're going to play a little of Kelly's hot take. So, which is just basically a game of this or that. Some of them are the same. Some of them are different. So Ellyn and Kevin, if you played last time, you can provide an answer unless you want to change an answer from a previous time. So the only rule is that there's no thinking. You just have to say the first answer that comes to your head. I'll ask Kelly first, and then Ellyn and Kevin, if you want to propose an answer or a change to a previous answer, let us know. Okay, here we go. Kelly, number one, heels or flats?
Heels.
Kevin. I love that. Okay, so this one is specifically for you, Kelly Devine. Don Julio 1942 or Clase Azul?
Clase Azul.
Really? Oh, nice.
I'm having what she's having.
Yeah. Well,
Kelly, I haven't had either of them, so maybe you could introduce me.
I have lots of it here. My drizzly came just before this started, so I'm stuck.
Yes.
Your reward after you finish dealing with our antics. Okay. You are from California. Donuts or cake?
What?
Yeah. Of the two, what do you pick? Are you drinking tequila right now, by the way?
Donuts.
Me too. Absolutely.
Donuts.
Donuts by far.
Donuts for sure.
Good. I knew I liked all of you. If it's a summer Monday, are you in the Poconos or are you at the beach in the Hamptons?
At the beach in the Hamptons. Not that I have a house in the Hamptons, but I would be
Not
there.
So I said the Poconos last time, but if
Yeah.
we're throwing in a Hamptons house, like if we have it's like beach, you said beach,
Yes.
but if it's Hamptons specific, I'm
No,
gonna go
Devine's
Hamptons.
the one that said
Absolutely.
Hamptons house. Hamptons house. You can
Yeah.
rent.
So if we're housing in the Hamptons, and and we're not slumming it like on like the the Jersey Shore or something like that, then I'm going Hamptons.
There you go.
The question is providing
There
you
you go.
either a Poconos cabin or a house on the Hamptons. Obviously, everyone's choosing house in the Hamptons. Okay.
Yeah, the house.
This one's another one
The
specifically. for
Poconos is
you.
lovely, but
No, it's well, you also spent 5 weeks there, I think, right? Wasn't it something like that just now, recently? Yeah.
pretty much.
You're
Yes.
you're done with the mountains for a minute. Okay, this one's another specific for Kelly Devine. Online shopping or go to the store.
Go to the store.
Go to the store. Thank you.
Yeah, I would rather go to the store, not during now, but
Right,
Always go to the store.
Considering normal times, you'd rather go to the store.
Because I
I
get
don't know.
excited. I get to try it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I hate trying
I get
on clothes.
excited.
That's probably why I would prefer to do online shopping. I
That's
literally
how I
just
work
go
out.
to H&M. Yeah. Okay. West Coast or East Coast, ultimately?
West Coast.
West Coast.
East.
Yeah, West Coast, I think. The more I spend,
Yeah,
Time
because
here.
you're there right now with
I
a
know.
pool.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
not
gonna
gonna
host
started.
next week. I'll host from the pool. How about that? And then you guys can really hate me.
Oh, can't wait.
Snacks wise,
Don't do that.
snack wise, salty or sweet?
Salty.
Sweet.
Salty.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, I would have to go sweet. All right, this is another Kelly Devine
I
special.
mean, ultimately
Oh.
chocolate covered pretzels, but
Oh, that's a good
one
call.
bowl,
I guess
but-
that could
Yeah.
be combo.
Yeah.
Combo.
yeah.
In reference to 1980s rock and roll music, you gonna go Journey? You gonna go Speedwagon?
Journey.
Journey.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's gonna pick Speedwagon. I mean, I do love Speedwagon, but Journey 100% all the way.
Me too.
Okay. Coffee, iced or hot?
Hot.
Ice.
Iced in a blizzard.
Yep.
Iced,
What?
iced in a freaking snowstorm.
Yep. Yep. I gotta go ice. Okay. Last question. This is not a this or that. This is just a question. 3 albums you're taking with you to a desert island. What are the 3 you take?
Oh my God, that's so
This
hard.
is the hard one.
It's
I had
so
to like
hard.
randomly think last time, and it was really hard for me.
I'm gonna say something by the Beatles.
Okay. An
I'm
anthology,
gonna
perhaps.
say yes. That's good. Get as many in there as possible. I'm gonna say something from Dave Matthews,
Oh, okay.
Oh, I love Dave Matthews.
and I'm gonna say, oh Lord, it's so hard. I want like a rock band, but I like so many. The Rock of Ages CD. How about that?
Oh,
How about
you
the
go.
cast album of Rock of Ages? I'll
There
do
you
that.
go.
That's
album
a
of Rock of
cornucopia.
Ages. Yeah. Plus you get a little Broadway in there and everybody. That's
Yes.
great. Okay. Well, we're going to take a short break to hear from CUNY's amazing CDI program. But right after we come back, we're going to play a little mini Broadway trivia hosted by our very own Ellyn Marie Marsh. So we will see you back in 2 minutes on the other side. We'll be right back.
Hey listeners, it's Clara here.
And it is Michael.
Choreographers, raise your hand if you could use more time, space, and money to create your work.
Oh my, it's like every hand in the city just went up. Like what? 1, 2 million hands?
All of them, and we can
All
see
of
them
them.
all from
And
our tiny
fingers, too.
windowless recording studio. All the fingers.
Okay, maybe not.
We all know the answer is all of you.
So, enter the CUNY Dance Initiative, or CDI. CDI is a residency program that opens the doors of City University of New York campuses to professional choreographers across New York City's 5 boroughs. They can offer you free space to create, teach, and perform, as well as financial support.
CDI has already helped over 130 local artists launch new work, develop new audiences, and establish new relationships with NYC performing arts centers.
And you know what? You could be next.
Actually, Michael, we've interviewed a ton of CDI resident choreographers over the years, I think during your tenure and before. And I will say they're just always such innovators in the dance community, and they're a really diverse collection of artists.
Yeah, so many incredible choreographers. You and I had the chance to talk with Tiffany Mills last year. We'll never, of course, forget Jess's awesome interview with 2019 Bessie Award winner, tap dancer Caleb Teicher.
And a while ago, we talked to Efrata Sherry, who's a B-girl and a house dancer. We talked to Annabella Lanzu, Benny Royce Royan. We even got to interview the director of CUNY Dance Initiative, Alyssa Alpine.
And you can find all of those interviews and more at podde.com, as well as Podde on iTunes. Now, missing this once-a-year application to be a CDI resident is heartbreaking. So do not let it happen to you. Make sure you jump over to the website, cuny.edu/dance initiative, and join their email list. And check out the homepage for application alerts, insider ticket discounts, and so much more. And if you just love dance, make sure you follow at CDI_dance on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Okay.
Back to the pod.
Okay, welcome back. It is time to play a little Broadway trivia hosted by Ellyn Marie Marsh. You can also catch Ellyn hosting Broadway trivia every Thursday night, by the way, live on Theater Mania's YouTube and Facebook pages. Now, before we start this, I do want to say, Ellyn, for anybody out there listening to previous episodes of the show or the previous episodes of the show, last time was not particularly fair. So I would hope
Wasn't fair.
that perhaps this time is a little more balanced, because it seems
Okay,
that
well.
you have something against Kevin and I.
Okay, I mean, I didn't see that, so I'm sorry that that challenge was just like a little too steep for you. But okay,
Yeah, okay.
whatever you say. Okay. So this is what we're gonna do. You and Kevin are a team, and you'll play against Kelly. Rules reminder. I will ask each team a question. You have a few seconds to come up with the answer. If you don't, the other team can steal. First to 3 points wins. Got it? Yes?
Got it.
Got it.
Okay.
Oh, so it's me and Mikey are on a team?
No,
No,
you're by
you're
yourself.
on your own team.
I'm on my own. Oh,
Yeah.
great. Okay.
Yeah, they need
Well,
all
if
the
it
help
goes
they can
like
get.
last
trust
time,
me.
I think you'll be just fine. So
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not the brightest bulb on the tree.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Okay. But they're
Not
very
wrong,
cute.
but-
They're
Okay.
so pretty. They are so pretty. Okay.
Okay, question to Kelly.
Okay.
Who choreographed the 2018 Broadway musical that featured the music and lyrics of Jimmy Buffett that
Oh,
took place in a tropical paradise and was titled after a famous song and a prominent tequila cocktail?
Ah,
What? I think that was me.
oh, okay.
Yes, it was.
One for Kelly. I'm terrible at Broadway trivia. Terrible. I don't know anything about musicals. I'm not even kidding.
If you've
Okay.
memorized your own
Okay.
bio, I think you're gonna be friggin' fine. Okay, what do you got for us?
Okay.
Because that's Ellyn's MO. Here we go.
All right, come on, guys. You guys, listen. All right, this is a softball. Okay, right over there.
Okay, here we go.
First question to Kevin and Michael. How many performances did the 1921 All-Star Jamboree play on Broadway?
I hate you.
What?
I've never
The
even heard of that, Ellyn.
I haven't
Okay.
either.
Jamboree? Okay. You haven't either?
All right.
Okay, I have no
Any
idea.
guesses? Come on.
39.
Okay.
94. I don't know.
Okay. Those are both incorrect. Kelly, do you just want to throw one out there with the guest? How many performances did All-Star Jamboree play on Broadway?
I mean, I'm going to go lower because none of us have heard of it, so I don't think it had 93 performances. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to go with 13. Lucky 13.
What? Did you just
13
randomly get? Did
performances.
you like Google
Whatever,
that
bro.
in like while we were asking like what? Like that's there's
Have
no
you
way
seen my
that
fingers doing
that-
anything?
no.
No.
I was watching specifically for the Google phone.
Or the
Didn't do
sound.
it.
You'd hear the pings because I
This
didn't
is a
turn my stuff
scam.
off.
This is an absolute
Google
scam.
Okay.
Marsh.
Question number 2 to Kelly. Which 2020 Broadway choreographer also created the choreography for the off-Broadway version of the movie turned musical Clueless?
Oh God.
Oh, that's me.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
Sorry,
good.
guys.
I was gonna say,
Clueless.
you can be lost, but you can just say
Yay.
Kelly Devine, and that's going to be the answer. Wow. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, probably.
All right, guys, put your thinking caps on.
Okay.
Here's one you should know. The original 1944 Broadway production of Bloomer Girl played. Guys, this is you need this. This is a fabric of our culture here.
Bloomer.
The
Girl. Got
Bloomer.
it.
Bloomer
of
Girl
our
played
girl.
654 performances in which Broadway theater?
I don't know.
What's one that's been?
What do you think? Should we
I
just?
Is there a
go with-
really old one? What's one that's really old? I don't know.
Yeah.
The Schubert.
Like-
that's been there for a long
like-
time.
yeah, the
How about the
Schubert.
Schubert?
Actually, it was the Schubert.
No
Oh,
way!
You definitely cheated on that one, Mikey.
I
You
did
looked
not. My
that
hands
up.
are
You were
right
too
here.
calm and collected.
No, it was
Okay.
100% a guess. I'll give you that. It was 100% a guess. I just know it's a really old theater. That's it.
Okay. I mean, I don't really think we should count because it was a guess, but
Whatever.
whatever.
Well, yes,
Que sera,
13.
sera.
Wait, this.
So 3 points for Kelly, 1 point for Kevin and Michael. Okay.
Yay.
Luckily, this is the 27 million bajillion and 4-point last question. So whoever wins this wins the game.
That was
This
a
is-
great number.
Thank you.
It's a lot of points. A lot of points.
Okay, so this is for all of you guys, okay? In what year did the original production of that classic Broadway hit, A Ball in Vienna, open?
Oh,
It's classic.
it
It's
is
classic.
classic.
How
You know what?
very
It
dare you?
sounds classic.
Yeah.
How very dare you all laugh?
Uh,
What year?
must have been 1923, that classic year.
I'm
Wrong.
gonna.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. Well, I guess I can't guess we're on the same team. Thanks, Mikey.
You-
Glad we talked about that.
Give Kevin a guess.
I
Just
don't
give him. You got a 1 in 2,000 chance.
It sounds like a 20s music, like the 20s, like 25.
Kelly's got this.
The Ball in Vienna sounds like the 20s.
Yeah, like Cinderella.
Okay. I have not a clue, but I'm going to go with my other favorite tequila, 1942, because that's like my favorite. So that's all I got.
It is 1942.
Oh, it's
Oh
not. This is.
She's just pulling stuff
This
out
is-
of her
yeah.
hiney.
Do you do this when
What
you
is
do
this?
live trivia? I mean, like, do you set your guests up for like this?
Oh, so you haven't been to my My trivia night. Is that what you're not, you've now, okay, all right, great.
We're here. We're here.
We're here, great.
I'm writing
Thanks, guys.
podcasts.
So the winner is the beautiful and talented Kelly Devine. We're gonna edit in sound effects of people going, ah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just going to leave that
Thank
in. You
you.
were telling everyone that there's going to be sound effects of
Sweating.
everyone going, ah. Okay. Well, that was a sham and a scam and everything in between. Okay. So after that sham of a, what do you call it? Broadway trivia, if that's what you want to actually call it.
Trivia.
Jealous, Mikey.
I just sound what?
I just sound jealous. You just sound jealous.
Jealous. Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
I'm jealous of your wide Broadway knowledge that you clearly a bell in Vienna or whatever the
I'm
hell.
going to Vegas with Kelly, by the way.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
she gets those, I'm
She's-
definitely going to Vegas with you
Put
next.
your money on that. Okay. So back to the whole idea of dance here. Take us back to the beginning. West Coast, you grew up in the Valley. We talked about that, but how did you initially find your way to dancing? What got you in the studio in the first place?
I honestly just drove my mom nuts. You know, we would be in the supermarket and music would be on and I'd be dancing down the aisles. And like, if we were with my grandma would get like, she's like, don't do that in the aisles. People are looking. I just could not dance with music on anywhere, no matter where I was. It didn't matter. So she put me in dance class. I got my first little pink ballet box. I don't know if you've seen those. They still make them for kids, but it's just like this square and it's got that little ballerina drawn on it doing a bad arabesque. And you're like, I want to be her. It's
Really bad sickled foot. Yeah.
Yes, it's terrible. And then you put your little tap shoes in there and your little ballet shoes in. And then they send you off with like pink tights and a black leotard. And I took my first class and I was like, that's it. And the teacher said to my mom, she's like, Kelly's very enthusiastic and she picks up quick. I think she should do this. And I was like, I am doing this. I was like 4, but yes, I was like, absolutely. And then I got my very first job was right after that. They picked me out of a dance class. I think I was 5 to be about a little tap dancer in a commercial for the LA Times.
Oh, wow.
So then I had an agent and then
So
went on
well,
from there.
yeah, well, that's sort of the next question that I had. You grew up dancing in LA, working in the West Coast scene. So obviously your first gig was tapping in that commercial, but how quickly did you find yourself sort of invested in the world of television and film and stuff out here? Did it come right away after that commercial or was it something that you found later on?
It sort of snowballed after that commercial. My teachers were very encouraging and I started taking more classes every week and I had an agent now that was sending me out on stuff. So I was like a kid going on auditions and, I booked like a commercial for FTD Flowers. I played a little ballerina in that. And then I did a Burger King commercial and I did a McDonald's commercial. And then it just sort of kept going. And I was taking acting, all those kid acting classes and all that stuff. But dance was really that was really my focus. Like I loved acting, I was never much of a singer. That's going to be no surprise to anybody, but I just really, I just loved dance and all forms of it. So I was like, my mom was sending me to my mom was great at this. She would find the best teachers in town that did specific things. So I'd go to Jim Taylor for tap. And then I would go to Lulu Washington's for African. And I would go Sarah Elgart for modern and hip hop and jazz and lyrical with Doug Caldwell. And so I had this really, wide background of different styles of dance. And I just loved it all. And I soon started assisting Marguerite Derricks was the first teacher I really started to assist to was at the beginning of her choreographic career. And I was 13. And so she, I can't imagine what that 13-year-old was running auditions, but I would run the auditions and I was just I'd have a room of 100 dancers and I would be like, okay, here we go, 5, 6, 7, 8. And wow. I don't really remember it, but I still know a lot of those people that were in those auditions. They're still friends of mine because we all sort of I was always the baby of the group. So they have very funny stories about it. And they're the same people that would pick me up from school to take me to rehearsal in my uniform when I was at St. Charles. And so
you're casting them in gigs.
Yeah, totally. I mean, truth be told, Robert Todd, who was my associate choreographer on Rock of Ages, my original associate choreographer, used to pick me up from school and take me to auditions and stuff in class. Like, he's known me forever.
Wow.
I used to roller skate to his house. Like, it's no joke. It's wild. But yeah, I got emancipated at 15, which meant that I could work as an adult then. And that was a real game changer. And then I was just really doing a lot of work, a lot of jobs, which was cool.
One of the things too that
Really cool.
I, just having worked with you for a while, but looking into your career and, like sort of looking up your bio and your IMDb history and stuff early on, you performed a lot, but one of the things that I know is that you wanted to choreograph pretty early on, and you actually started choreographing really early on in your career. So I'm just sort of curious, how did you know that you wanted to do that? And was that sort of, or did you, is it something you fell into, or was like a thought you were like, I prefer to be on the creative side of this as opposed to on the performance side of this?
I think it was a little bit of both. Because I started working with choreographers as an assistant so young, I was on the other side of the table. And then, sometimes I would also be doing the job. I'd be one of the dancers in whatever the gig was. When I was assisting, I always liked being behind the camera. I always listened to what the director had to say. I wanted to know how everything worked. I was just really, really interested in how the whole thing was coming together. And I did that for so long. I kind of felt like, I think I was like 18 and I just thought, I really just want to focus on choreography. Like, I felt like I got to do everything I wanted to do as a performer. Like, I got to dance with Cab Calloway, and I got to do some really crazy cool things. And and even as I got older, they would call and be like, do you want to do this job? And there were other jobs like, Legally Blonde that came up, that Tony Basil, like, that was an amazing job. But I just enjoy so much the challenge of coming up with the steps. And like, I feel like music is like, my relationship to music is, it's everything. Like, I could not live without music, honestly. Like, that's the one thing, like, if you want to kill me, just take away music and I would just like wilt. It's like, I can't. So I like, that's, yeah, I'm really passionate about it.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Cut that out.
Or not.
Yeah, we're just leaving it. For the extended cut video version, it'll probably stay in.
There you go.
So Jersey Boys was sort of like a big turning point for you, right? Working with Sergio, working at La Jolla, which obviously has become something that you've done a number of times, especially now that you have a great relationship with Chris Ashley. But I'm curious that sort of step of meeting Sergio and becoming the associate on Jersey Boys, and sort of how that led you from what you were doing into this new world of theater choreography that you are now a monster of the industry. How did that go down?
Well, just to kind of, I guess, like to sum it up a little bit, I was doing a lot of film and television in LA, and I was doing like a lot of small theater in LA, and like doing like new musicals, but it's just different. They don't do musicals the way they do in New York, right? New York is where American musicals are made. Right. And I was a little frustrated, and I was like, because I liked the idea, like I really enjoyed doing musicals. I was like, this is cool. This is even harder than what I was doing before, because I do like a challenge. And Sergio, just to give you a little backstory, I met Sergio when he left Toronto. He was in chiropractor school in Toronto. He decided he was going to be a chiropractor. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's very smart. And he came to LA to give one more shot at dancing. He really wanted to like make a go of it. And so he started taking classes at Tremaine's studio with all of the teachers that I was assisting. So Sergio has known me since I was like 14 years old. So wow. We were taking class together. Yes, we had a very funny relationship. I was just a kid and he was just sassy as always, and we got along great. And we just, we stayed in touch over the years, because he wasn't there that long before he got Jerome Robbins Broadway and went on tour. He did the Academy Awards. He was like working with Debbie Allen. He was, a beautiful, beautiful dancer. So many years go by, and the Dodgers actually set me up with a meeting with Des McAnuff, because he was at the time the artistic director of La Jolla, and I was still living in Los Angeles. So I had this meeting with Des, and he's talking about the shows that he's working on, and he's like, I have this show, Jersey Boys, that I'm doing. I said, the choreographer is Sergio Trio, but maybe you guys should work together. And I was like, I know Sergio, that's amazing. And then, I don't know, like a week later, I get a call, and they're like, do you want to be the associate? And I think I wasn't sure, because I was a choreographer on my own. So I thought, is this taking a step back? But it's like, no, girl, you've never done Broadway. Like, this is a huge opportunity to learn from some of the best people at this.
Right.
And wow, I mean, that changed everybody's life. Everybody that was on that show, it really changed everybody's life. It was an incredible experience. I learned so much. It was great. And I've been here ever since. Like, people Des took me under his wing. He's given me so many opportunities as a choreographer, like right out of the gate. And, Sergio's one of my best friends in the whole world. And we talk about work all the time. And, he always suggests me for stuff. I don't need to suggest him for everything, because he's doing everything, but it's like,
it's so true.
I mean, it's amazing. It's like, it's a real, and Chris Wheeldon is a very good friend of ours. Like, we're all very, very close. And it's interesting that we all, I don't know how it all happened.
You've developed this like super power circle of really awesome choreographers, and you just like hang out together and plan how you're going to take over the world, I guess, right? Drink tequila.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So yeah, you do. And you are associated obviously with Chris Ashley so much. So Chris and Des and Sergio, is there a time in your career where you kind of feel like you're, the old adage, like dancing backwards in heels, that because being a woman, kind of like working twice as hard, proving yourself, like, do you feel that? Obviously they're very smart, powerful, creatively genius men, but do you feel that sort of pressure sometimes being the only woman in the room? Do you, or have you just not felt that? What's been like your sort of journey being in this new age of so many amazing female choreographers? What has that been like for you, just being a woman?
I feel extremely fortunate for the people that I've gotten to work with, to be honest, because I have never felt anything but a person at the table working on the show just like everybody else is. And not only have I not felt less than, but I have been encouraged and included. And, they literally were like, hey, we see something in you, do this, try this. Like, they really helped me in so many ways. And I feel grateful for that. I know that doesn't happen very often. On the other side of it, I feel a huge responsibility to be as great as I can be, because women you do feel the need to work twice as hard. Like, you don't feel like you have a chance to have a failure. You know what I mean? You kind of got to hit it out of the park and just prove why you're here. So that is something that I don't think has been enforced by people that I've worked with necessarily, but it is the culture in a way. You know what I mean? So that's and I take it really seriously. I mean, I will not sleep for days just over 8 counts. Truly.
Yeah.
Just because like it's not good enough. I don't want a single tear in that fabric at all.
Right.
It just has to be right on the money. And the crazy thing is too is like, well, you're never like, that's not how art works.
Right.
So there's like a personal torture behind it all. But, I really do, I work really hard. I always have. I don't know why. I love it so much. And I get a lot of strength out of working hard. And I feel like I like making stuff. I like getting stuff done. I like seeing it up there. I like seeing actors and dancers and performers liking doing my stuff. Like when they're happy, like it makes me 10,000 times happier.
Right.
They're like, oh, the audience likes it and the cast, amazing. When did that happen?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
It's just, yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah,
That was a great answer.
It's a great answer. I think that's absolutely right. I don't think that, you know, your collaborators are necessarily your oppressors, but I do think that the pressure, especially there being so few women, and you have been, you know, around for a minute, and even now more women coming up. So you're kind of like, for me, that like second generation, right? Like Kathleen Marshall,
Sure.
Stroh,
Yeah.
and then like you're kind of like the second wave of women that have been given these amazing opportunities to me. And then there's the next one after you, the younger ones that are sort of
Sure.
coming up. So I'm sure that pressure is felt also. And I said this to Lauren Latero. I said, you're a role model, you know, to so many, even though you're just Kelly doing your thing, and you nail it, and people like you, and you're fun and, you know, beautiful and all these things, but still to like the younger generation, you're very much a role model. And I think that women take that on so much more than men, only because there's so few of you.
Yeah, right. It's a small posse.
It's interesting too, because this year, you, Kelly, are the sort of the leader of this group of 9 women that choreographed on Broadway. I mean, of those 9, you and Ann Yee, I think, are the only ones with Tony nominations previously. And I think you look at your dog in the background. Sorry, I didn't mean to take away from this, but your dog is like,
She's on watch.
Yeah, but the fact that to sort of say what Ellyn, to top what Ellyn was saying, is that this idea that you are a leader among this group of choreographers this year is something special. And I want to go back and chat briefly about Rock of Ages and Come From Away, but because we're on this right now, if you're looking at this season, being sort of this leader of these 9 women that choreographed, or were supposed to choreograph 10 shows that were supposed to come to Broadway this year, what does it mean to you to sort of have that role, even though it's not an official leadership, this sort of like, you're the torchbearer of this group, and what do you think it means for the future of Broadway as far as breaking down this glass ceiling for female choreographers?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've never really paid much attention to the idea of being a leader in this in any way. I really didn't. And it's just because in my heart, like, I am a worker bee. Like, I love to work. I like to duck my head down, you know. It sounds crazy, but I'm not like, I don't love doing interviews. I will do them to promote a show for sure, but it's not that I don't love it. It's just like, I think I'm a bolder character on the outside, but I really am sort of I'm just a little more on the shy side. Like, if I show up at an event and I don't know anybody, I'm kind of like, okay, you know, I just don't. I don't know. I can't explain that part of it, but I will say that something I've done in the room and with people I work with, and I think anybody would tell you that, is that I always say exactly what I think and what's on my mind and what is my idea and how I feel about something. And that sort of openness, some people may think it's blunt, I don't know, I think it's just being open, but I think I'm just clear with what my intentions are, what I want, what my ideas are. I try to have a really good open dialogue and communication with everybody that I'm working with. Anybody that works in the house, from, you know, stage managers to front of house to, I don't know, I just like, because it takes everybody to do it. So I feel, you know, grateful that I've gotten to do it for this long. And I'm so excited about the other women that are getting to do this too, because it's a talent. It's a passion. It's like, it should not have been harder for women to get to do this. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. You know, I don't even know where to really pinpoint that, because all the male choreographers that I know are wonderful guys. Like, I don't know where that happens. I don't know when those decisions get made, but it's not a problem anymore because we're killing it. So I'm grateful to be a part of a group of incredibly talented women with a lot of integrity and a lot of ideas and a lot of soul. And I've gotten to talk to them. I've been on panels with them, and it's exciting. It's really, really exciting.
Yeah,
it's so exciting.
Exciting, yeah.
It's so cool. And I want to go back real quick to Rock of Ages, right? So Jersey Boys was this.
You know I'm wearing a Bourbon Room t-shirt.
Yeah,
right?
you are. And Kevin's
Yes,
got
I
his
love
Rock
it.
of Ages
Aw.
hat right behind
Yes.
him. Yeah. Rock of Ages power. That's awesome. So Jersey Boys is this massive success. And it's sort of in the meantime, you become affiliated with this little show, Rock of Ages, over at New World Stages, and it developed a little bit before that too. But that became like a major launching point for you as being that Broadway solo choreographer, not the associate anymore. Like that was the first sort of big, huge thing. So did you know when you were working on Rock of Ages originally that it was going to be that sort of not just stepping stool for your career, but like trampoline?
No, not at all. Actually, the opposite. I mean, I knew that there was, I knew that Kristen and I had faith in us because we'd worked together before. So I was like, okay, we're not dummies. We know what we're doing. But at the time, it was such like a dark horse that came into the off-Broadway scene here.
Totally.
They did not want anything to do with us. We were like the first show that ever let drinks be passed around and sold during the show. And, you know, there would be reports, like when we were in previews, there would be reports of like, you know, somebody threw up over the balcony one night and there'd be fights. And like, it was crazy. It was absolutely nuts. So we were like this dirty little show. And I will never forget the first preview, our very first preview. Kristen and I were standing outside of we were at New World, standing outside of the door. And I was like, okay, well, this is either going to be a hit or it's going to kill our careers. And I was like, and she said the same thing. We laughed and we're like, here we go. Cause we did not know what it was going to be like having an audience, you know, sitting and taking in the Bourbon Room and this like nutty thing that's got llamas and all this stuff in it. And yeah, it was amazing. Like the response was great. We were like, okay, we got something here. And then we just kept refining it.
And here we are,
it
10
turned
years
into
later, still
something that I never even expected.
Yeah. I
mean, even after like 6 years on Broadway, people were still like, oh, is that show still open? I'm like, yeah, it's been 6 years. You know what I mean? I think there's a little bit of like, they don't want to admit really.
I freaking love Rock. I don't understand haters. I love Rock of Ages. It's just a freaking blast. Underestimators.
It's just
underestimators.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, oh, that show. And you're like, that show is bringing a lot of joy to a lot of people, and it has forever. So it's,
as Miss Jarvis likes to say, if you can't have fun at Rock of Ages, then I don't want to be your friend. That's, you know, it's true.
It's true. It's so true.
Okay, one last question too before we let you go. You've done so many awesome shows. Rocky, obviously, which got you your first Tony nomination. Dr. Zhivago, so many other things. Awesome workshops, and you're always developing so many different things. But Come From Away has been this amazing piece of theater, not just for you in the sense that it's created multiple international companies and been this massive success on Broadway, but it's also this beautiful story. I just quickly, what's it been like working on that show? What does it mean to you to win that Olivier Award? And how is it having the opportunity to get to create with Chris Ashley again and continue working and have this beautiful gift of Come From Away?
I will say that Come From Away was definitely, it would definitely changed my life in many ways, and it more in a way of just personally how I see the world and how I feel about how I interact with people. And it just sort of it made my world bigger in the sense that it really is a collective. It's about everybody. It's not, you know, sometimes we can get in our little lane and we're like work, and we're not seeing right and left. We're just sort of just here. And to meet these people, because we got to go to Gander, and so we met all of these people that the story's about, and we spent some time there, and their kindness and their humor and their generosity and their just open hearts is like nothing I've never seen before. So this story that happened, you know, in one of, you know, the worst times in our history, it's some crazy that we're going through another time in our history that's just
different,
just
but also
another
awful
kind of completely
crazy.
world changing pandemic. But they chose to do things that I hoped I would have chosen. Like when they had, thousands of people coming off of airplanes from all over the world that didn't speak the language, they were just aliens and complete strangers, and they opened their doors and they would invite these people to live with them and give them clothes and feed them. And it is like the most grand form of kindness that, you just never forget that. So that's the life-changing part. Like it really did. It was a beautiful awakening that I could be better, and I should be better, because if they can do it, we should all do it. It's like, it's such a testament. And then, on top of it, you want to do things that make people feel something. You know what I mean? Like I always want to, and it's like, it's the same thing with Rock of Ages. If I can make people have a wonderful time and laugh and enjoy music and just leave feeling like $1 million, that's great. If these, people spend time with us telling the story of Come From Away, and they're moved, and a lot of people have said like it's nice to associate another kind of memory with 9/11 than what they have. It's another story attached to it, helps them in any way. It's very special. It doesn't happen very often, and I never take it for granted. You always want to, like, I feel, again, I just feel really grateful that I got to work on that story, because it's true and it happened, and it really moves people, and it moves me. And I've seen it thousands of times now, and it's like, it just feels, I feel lucky to get to put that out in the world, and work with that team. I mean, Chris and I work together a lot now, and it's amazing, because we have, he just trusts me. So he just sort of lets me go and do stuff, and then he'll have a look and give me notes. And it's like, it's a wonderful place to be with your collaborators. It's very, the Come From Away family is like none other. I mean, if you've been in any of the companies, you are still a part of the Come From Away family. It is international completely. When I was in the Poconos with Ricky, who's my associate on Come From Away, we did a Zoom cocktail hour with the cast from London, and it was incredible. And I hadn't seen them in a long time. It was the best. They had us, they were going to do, the dance captain, Christy, wanted us, they were going to do sort of like a name that tune kind of thing. And she asked us to pick 4 songs where we had to hum, or like, hum the songs. And it's like, so Ricky and I, it's like 10 a.m. in the Poconos, and I'm hungover, and I'm like, like it was, and we made these videos, and we actually sent them to London, and they watched them, and it was, so then we were like the surprise guests. We showed up, and it was, it's a beautiful thing. It's an amazing group of people. There's not a single person that's done that show that doesn't have, is rooted with a really kind heart, because they have to be good to each other during that show too, because they all help each other make all of those transitions.
Yeah.
Right.
There's like all this sneaky stuff that happens backstage, on stage, that you don't see. But like, if you're mad at somebody, you're like, I'm not going to move that chair, and they're screwed. It is a community working together on stage. They get really connected. It's just a cool thing. It's very special to my heart.
Yeah. Much like what the show talks about, the show itself is done for you, it seems like, as it's this continuous, wonderful memory about community. And Kelly Devine, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us today and put up with our ridiculousness. You are awesome. You are an incredible leader and a role model, like Ellyn said. It's so good. Everybody out there, make sure you follow Kelly on her social media. You can. She's got the best Twitter handle, I think, in the history of Twitter handles. She's at Tipsy Tweeter. That's a fun suggestion from Kristen.
I had no idea.
Yeah. She doesn't use it very often, but when she does, it's good. At Tipsy Tweeter, and also on Instagram at the real Kelly Devine, I think. Oh, really fast too, before we let you go.
I'm the real Kelly Devine, and you got to do you got to do Why Go Live. Yeah,
that's what I was literally about to say. I was like, before we go, I want to talk about Why Go Live. Give us a quick rundown of what Why Go Live is and where people can find it.
So Why Go Live is an Instagram docuseries I started. It's very short. It's clips. It's like 1 minute clips. And it's everybody, people from our industry, Broadway stars, rock stars, teachers, doctors, family members. Like, it's everybody. There's some really amazing little minute snippets. And the question is why go live? So like, why do you go to a concert? Why do you like to go see a musical or a play or a lecture? What is that experience important to you? And it's just very personal to each of our lovely, friends that have posted stuff. And it's just, I wanted to remind everybody what is the difference of being in a live room with people as opposed to this conversation, which is great, but there is something that happens in the room that's just different. So it's like all these different perspectives from people about why they like to and their personal relationship to it. And it's we're going to do it every night. We release one every night at 8 p.m. and we're going to do it till the lights are back up on Broadway.
It's so good.
So,
I plan on doing that.
I'm going to follow it right now.
Yeah, you can follow it at Why Go Live on
putting
Instagram.
a little good out there.
It's really cool. It's a nice little
all one word. Why Go Live?
Yeah. At Why Go Live on Instagram. Also, make sure you check out Broadway Trivia. I'll be there because clearly I've missed a few episodes now. But Ellyn hosts Broadway Trivia. Ellyn, where can people find Broadway Trivia?
Just on Instagram at Broadway Trivia. And we play Tuesdays is general trivia and Thursdays is Broadway Trivia. Lots of trivia to keep you pandemic entertained. Is that a thing? Did I just make it up? Pandemic entertained? Entertained in the pandemic?
I love it. No, that's what it is. Also, make sure you follow my blog, NYC Dance News and Culture.
It's Kelly Devine.
Yeah, it's Kelly Devine. She makes me nervous. NYCDanceNews.com. We also have so many more awesome episodes coming up in this Women of Broadway series. So many more amazing choreographers for you to hear from. You can listen to Pod De Deux anywhere that you find podcasts now. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all over the place. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Pod De Deux. Like the Facebook page. Give us a comment. Follow everything that we've got. Check out poddedeux.com. And this will be up on the Pod De Deux YouTube channel. I think I said everything out there. Make sure you follow us. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Michael Mahany. Ellyn is, you sell them.
Oh, I'm at Ellyn Marsh on all the things.
Kevin.
On the
I don't really use anything but Instagram. That's like my place, and it's just at Raponey.
At Raponey.
I don't even know what my password for this Tipsy Tweeter is. So
you better find out because you're about to get 3.5 more followers from this episode. So
yeah.
All right. I'll get on it.
Thank you very much, of course, to these champions of dance, Ellyn and Kevin. We couldn't do the show without you. Thank you for listening to the show. We'll see you back here for more Pod De Deux and more badass women of Broadway. We will see you very soon. Thanks again, Kelly. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Kelly.
Bye, guys.